Hello. Brian at the office. I left my pen behind. Return and retrieve it. That was Thomas, my supervisor. We're abroad to top it all off. There wasn't even a room reserved for me when we got to the motel. Thomas's remark caused the other people on this business trip to start laughing. I gave a long sigh. This is too much. Ugh. As I turned to go, I thought, this is outright harassment. Shall I simply return to Japan? I had the thought. My name is Brian. I am 30 years old, and I am actually in charge of the business meeting that is scheduled for tomorrow. I got a cab to the airport and called because I was tired of Thomas's persistent taunting. A flight back to Japan was not available. For the first time in a long time, I finally gave my uncle in the United States a call. The phone was answered by my aunt. Hello. This is Brian, Auntie. Can I come over, even if this is abrupt? I'll arrive in roughly 2 hours. I reached my uncle's place shortly after. It's been a while, Ed. Has something occurred? My aunt inquired worriedly. After explaining the circumstances, I made the decision to spend the night at my uncle's house. When my uncle got home from work that evening, we talked about the good old days. Despite the fact that I am already 30, I found myself thinking back on my life. My mom was an office clerk at the tiny plant where my dad operated when I was growing up. When my parents were at work late, I would wait at the home of my maternal grandmother, who lived close by herself. In addition, she took me to and from childcare. I was really close to her because I was an only child. I'd attended a nearby cram school and English class when I started elementary school because my parents were serious about my academics. I frequently ran into Malene, a daycare buddy there. Our residences were near to one another. Every child in school discussed video games. I didn't have one, and neither did Malene. Even though we were in the same class, we frequently felt alienated since we didn't exactly fit in. Malene muttered one day after school, I wish I could play video games too. It was the same for me. Grandma, I really want a video game, I pleaded with her one day. I swear, I'll work hard in my studies. Let's keep this between us, she said softly, and then she purchased me a game system. I was so thrilled that I was barely able to restrain myself when it arrived with 2 controllers. Malene lived in a quite large home, but I surreptitiously invited her to my grandma's after school, because her parents were also very strict about her studies. Malene came over after telling her parents she was studying with pals. After doing our assignment, we would want to play games together. However, we didn't tell anyone at school about it. We would be in serious trouble if our parents found out. Up until 3rd grade, Malene and I were good friends, but my mother died of a disease at that time. I started crying. I cried every day, as though I were depleting my supply of tears for the rest of my life. I wept till my eyes were dry. For a while, I even stopped attending school. After that, my grandma moved in with us to help with home tasks and to help look after my father. I was unable to speak during the funeral because I was in such shock. My mother's younger brother, my uncle, was also crying uncontrollably. In retrospect, losing her daughter must have crushed my grandma as well. My grandmother refrained from crying, and my father maintained a composed expression during our little burial. In the end, I skipped school for a full year. I also stayed in my room and quit attending cram schools. My uncle encouraged me to visit America after he and his aunt were later relocated to a U.S. corporation. I therefore took a plane to the United States. My aunt and uncle, who were childless themselves, took good care of me. In America, I gradually adapted to living abroad as my surroundings drastically altered. My uncle and aunt both assisted me in my academic endeavors. I later completed my high school and middle school education in the United States, and I put in enough effort to gain admission to a prominent American institution. Since I was in elementary school, my uncle's best buddy, a man named Joseph, has also frequently visited their home. He always referred to me as Ed and was kind to me. Joe taught me a lot, particularly in the area of studying. My grandmother's health declined when I graduated from college, so I went back to Japan. I joined my current company after my uncle advised me to do so. Only President Owens and the Human Resources Department were aware of my past. I was initially put in charge of the General Affairs Division. I couldn't quite recall who she was, but I noticed a sales department employee in the workplace cafeteria who seemed oddly familiar. Although it was a real estate company at the time, it wasn't very large. I obtained my real estate broker's license while I was employed in the General Affairs Division. My uncle got me a computer when I was in middle school, and I adored it. As the internet grew in popularity, I spoke with a lot of individuals online. I felt at ease speaking both Japanese and English. I was primarily responsible for document organization in the General Affairs Department. I was also able to watch my grandmother because I left work on time. But things began to change with her. Thursdays were my day off, so I took her to the hospital. My grandmother suffered from severe dementia, as I had expected. The only option left to my father and me was to place her in a care facility. My father got married again after a while. The home responsibilities were taken over by his new wife. I began living alone after renting a modest one-room apartment close to the workplace. The sales department employee I had been interested in approached me one day at the company's year-end celebration. "Do you not remember me, Brian?" "I'm Maline." He. "Maline, it's me." "Wait, you're Maline from elementary school." "Indeed. Isn't it sentimental?" I was surprised. It never occurred to me that the Maline who used to live close by when we were children was now in front of me. She had grown pretty attractive, and I hadn't recognized her at all because of her cosmetics. Then Maline slipped me a little letter and went back to her chair. Her contact details were written on the note. I simply wrote her a brief message the following evening. "Good job today." "How are you doing?" Maline asked. "Do you want to go out to eat sometime?" I therefore concurred. In the end, we went to a family restaurant for dinner. I informed M about my college experience and my trip abroad. I requested that she not tell the other staff members about it. Maline reportedly attended Tokyo University after graduating from a prominent private middle and high school before landing a job. Both of us made the decision to hide our pasts from other people. After that, we began dining together more frequently. At the time, Maline was also living alone. We were both 24 at the time. After a while, I stayed in the General Affairs Department until I was summoned by President Owens. "We don't have enough salespeople at the moment, Brian. Are you open to moving to the sales department?" "Mr. Owens, I'm not really good at sales." "Brian, take your time. Because of your talent, I think you'll pick it up gradually." "I'm grateful. I'll try it out." Consequently, the next week I was moved to the sales division. I sat at my new workstation and greeted Thomas and the other salespeople. Maline, the sales department office worker, grinned broadly. I started by observing my more experienced coworkers, taking up tips via interacting with clients and listening to their sales pitches. I had grown more gregarious while studying in America, enjoying English and forming a large social circle. However, I became more introverted after I returned to Japan, and I was really nervous around sales. Maline provided me supportive messages when I confided in her about my difficulties. At the age of 28, I began working in sales, but I had trouble getting contracts. "Brian, where did you graduate from?" Thomas questioned one day. "Oh, it wasn't anything special." "Data. You millennials need to work harder and schedule more appointments." "Yes, Thomas, I understand." My nightmare started when Thomas was about 40 years old. I was racing around pursuing sales leads in freezing and blistering temperatures, yet I was still unable to complete any deals. "Hey, useless Brian, just sit down and organize the documents today." "Yes, Thomas, I understand." Thomas handed me a pile of documents as I was saying that. The other salesmen started laughing since it was so heavy that I almost tripped. I sat in front of the computer at my desk and began going through the papers. I couldn't possibly complete this in a one day. "Thomas, when do you need these documents completed by?" "This will likely take you a very long time, Brian. You have 3 days. Additionally, remain late if you are unable to finish, but don't anticipate overtime compensation. I said softly, I understand. In response, is it possible for me to complete this in 3 days? Each sales representative had to have the necessary paperwork ready, including client information and contract creation, all painstakingly and accurately typed. The sales team was busy rushing around for discussions with the construction business in what appeared to be a new residential development that had begun in a relatively remote place. After they got a contract, I would confirm it and give it to Thomas. It was too much to juggle with my document preparation responsibilities. Since I joined, the company, which had begun modest, has been steadily expanding. Even I was beginning to feel let down by my poor sales skills. Everyone left for their homes at the conclusion of the workday, but Malene returned to the office with coffee and lunch. I brought you some lunch, Brian. I'll assist you in organizing the documents as we eat together. Thank you, Malene. It means a lot that you're here, even though I don't think I'm cut out for sales. That's how Thomas has always been, temperamental and irritable. New salespeople were scolded, forced to complete paperwork, and several quit, even in the general affairs department. You could have easily joined a larger corporation given your background. What made you select this one? Oh, my uncle's recommendation was the reason. Although my grandmother's health was deteriorating at the time, I did think about working for a multinational corporation. I was concerned about her because she had looked after me. I requested to be assigned to the General Affairs Department, which did not offer overtime, for this reason. I anticipated a high volume of client dinners and sales. I understand. So, your uncle and President Owens are acquainted. Yeah, apparently they were classmates. Wow, exactly like us. Only from preschool to elementary school did we spend time together, but yet, when we could play video games at your grandmother's house back then, I was overjoyed. Those were good times. They were, in fact. Malene, you've matured so much. I didn't even recognize you. How could you possibly recall me? You look the same, though. Since then, you haven't changed. Yeah, I do get told I look young for my age. We shared the meal she brought and spoke and laughed. As the office clerk, it is actually my responsibility to handle these records. Let me handle it. Thanks. It was already 1 p.m. when Malene collected some of the documents and sat at her desk to assist me. It's getting late, Malene. You ought to go home shortly. It's not secure. You're correct. Will you continue to work? I'll stay for a little longer, but I'll be heading out soon. Avoid going overboard. I'll see you tomorrow. After thanking her, I let her go first. I thought I could endure a little while longer. I decided to go to bed at around 1 in the morning after applying some eye drops. I took a leisurely walk home, showered briefly, and then went to bed for a couple of hours because my flat was close to the office. I'd arrived at work early the following morning and started processing documents again. There still seemed to be no end in sight. Even though I had been pounding away at the computer since the morning, I had come a long way with Malene's assistance. But during the 10 a.m. break, a senior colleague gave me another stack of documents. Everyone had coffee made by Malene. Hey, Brian, at least brew the coffee and be of some use. There's nothing else you can do, so start contributing. Oh, I'm sorry. Malene's expression was perplexed. The senior coworkers were grinning. I was about to start my lunch break when Thomas yelled, Do you truly believe you have time to rest, Brian? Will the paperwork be completed? I'll be right back. After saying that, I hurried back to the office and ate a sandwich. It's not as though eating more would make a difference. In any case, I'd probably just become tired. I put in extra hours into the evening once more. Maitline came to assist me today and brought lunch once more. Despite clocking out, I kept working. Malene showed up soon after. You returned, Malene. Many thanks. No issue. I don't have anyone at home waiting for me anyhow. However, I discovered while reviewing these documents that many of them aren't even required at this time. Thomas is merely playing tricks on you. Yes, I had assumed that. However, given my dismal sales record, I am at a loss for options. What a jerk Thomas is, Malene swore, clearly upset. She would become irritated if I defeated her while we were playing games as kids, and her expression brought back those memories. Although her angry expression had its own beauty, her smile was adorable. In America, I had a lot of female friends, but none of them ever became my girlfriends. They were simply friends. However, I've noticed that I'm drawn to Malene lately. She told me that, in spite of her beauty, she wasn't seeing anyone special. Around 9:00 p.m. that evening, we wrapped up our job, and I escorted Malene to the station. It appeared like I could turn in everything by the third day. I decided to brew coffee for everyone the following day. Malene entered the break room at 10:00 a.m. How are things going? Are you going to be done on time? You just have to carry the coffee. I'll prepare it. Thank you. With your assistance, I should be able to complete everything by noon. Thomas is going to shout at me once more if I don't bring the coffee myself. Malene just made the coffee and went back to the office after I told her that. I brought the coffee to each person's desk. Thomas frowned but remained silent. The phone rang as soon as I returned to my desk. President Owens had made the internal call. Brian, would you mind stopping by my office for a bit? Indeed, Mr. Owens. I'll be there, right. I ended the call. I've been summoned to Mr. Owens's office, Thomas. I will return shortly. Since I know you, it's most likely a demotion. Go get a proper reprimand, Thomas added. Disregarding him, I went to the president's office and was asked to have a seat on the couch. How is the sales work going, Brian? I'm really sorry, Mr. Owens. Nothing has been going smoothly for me. I'm now assisting Thomas with organizing his documents. I understand. I'm sad to hear that. I want you to take care of the materials as we are going to start negotiating with certain clients abroad. Few of our staff members speak English well. I said, I understand, and our chat came to an end. By lunchtime, I returned to the office and completed Thomas' paperwork, giving it to him. What is this? So, that wasn't really a demotion. You completed the documents at last, huh? As he perused the documents, Thomas scoffed. Us people sure take their time. The other workers smiled smugly at me. President Owens came into the office a short while later. Good afternoon, Mr. Owens. Every staff got up to welcome him. I also greeted him in the same manner. Thomas, I want Brian to handle some materials for me. Is that okay? Yes, of course. In any case, Brian is a lousy salesman. President Owens then gave the papers to me. I picked them up and went through them. They contained information about an American resort in Japan. I first began writing the proposal in English before compiling the data in Japanese. English is my strongest language, thus I completed the materials fast. I took the completed paperwork to President Owens' office, where he spent roughly half an hour going over them. As anticipated, Brian. He said, "Please wait here for a moment." I sat on the couch and waited after President Owens said that. Then he called someone on the phone. As always, thank you, Joseph. The paperwork is prepared. I'll give Brian the phone for a second. I accepted the phone from President Owens, feeling a little perplexed. Hi, I'm Brian. Hello, Ed. This is Joseph, a friend of your uncle. Joe? It's been a long time. Wow. I'm genuinely shocked. Ed, you sound good. That brings me joy. I requested that Mr. Owens take charge of this resort project. Your uncle is also doing quite well. I would really like to sit down and talk to you in person. Would you be able to visit the U.S.? So this project was yours, Joe. I would be delighted to, of course. I will surely travel. Thank you. Ed, I want you to bring your senior coworkers and supervisor along. I'll go over the paperwork later and provide Mr. Owens the specifics. Still astonished, I said, "Yes, I understand," and returned the phone to President Owens. Joseph and President Owens then spoke for a few more seconds before hanging up. President Owens then remarked, "The CEO, Joseph Howard, was actually a classmate of mine in college." How come? Is Joseph the CEO? That's unexpected. Indeed, he is. Since it's going to be a large project, I'll make sure to inform Thomas if a business trip to the U.S. is planned. I am depending on you. I get it, Mr. Owens. This is a significant matter. Do your best, please. Still in disbelief by the unexpected conversation with Joe, I answered, I will do my utmost. I walked out of President Owens' office after bowing to him. The next week was set aside for the business trip abroad. I traveled to the United States with Thomas and a few senior colleagues. Brian, I hear this is a huge issue. Avoid trying to flaunt yourself, Thomas said on the aircraft. My room was the only one missing when we got to the hotel in the United States. Thomas, I don't seem to have a room. Your chamber. Oh, I see now. I left my pen at the office, by the way. Why don't you return and retrieve it? Stunned, I stood there. I thought this pestering was rather excessive, as I already stated, but I turned to go after saying, understood. Everyone around me started giggling. I ignored them and called my uncle, trying to hide my annoyance. After that, I traveled to my uncle's house for 2 hours from the airport. Uncle was enraged. It's been a long time, Ed. The idea that they would send you back in the middle of a crucial negotiation with Joseph. I'll inform him of the situation. Joe, the CEO, was given a detailed explanation by my uncle. Thomas went to see Joe Howard the following day. President Owens was also incensed, and I had already spoken to him about it. Actually, Brian, I've been informed by Malene about the harassment you've been facing from Thomas. What? You see, Malene is my niece. She is the daughter of my sister. Wait, really? Yes, Brian, she has told me a lot about you. I'll see to it that Joseph is fully informed. Hold on tight for the moment. Sorry about this, Mr. Owens. I understand. I was surprised once more. At my uncle's place, I made the decision to wait. The following day, the meeting was set for 1:00 p.m. After a lengthy absence, my uncle and his spouse were ecstatic to see me again and arranged a lavish meal. Your father appears to have remarried, Ed. I am aware that you greatly aided my mother. I appreciate everything you've done for her. It was nothing, Uncle. Grandma was dear to me, and she's doing well even though she's currently in a care facility. My uncle said, Ed, thank you, with a hint of tears in his eyes. Even though I hadn't seen my father in a while, I still occasionally went to see Grandma. But as she lost her memory of who I was, every visit became more agonizing. Even our shared memories appeared to have been mercilessly erased by dementia. But whenever I went to see her, she always greeted me with a smile. Thinking back on my talk with President Owens, I also recalled Malene's kind smile as she said me farewell prior to my departure for the United States. It was unbelievable to me that Malene was actually the niece of President Owens. When I got back to Japan, I messaged Malene to invite her out to dinner. She smiled as she answered. I spent the night at my uncle's house. In order to avoid bumping into Thomas, I departed early the following morning and went to meet with CEO Joe Howard. Mr. Howard, thank you for meeting with me today. I'm happy you came, Ed. You've matured a lot. Would you mind waiting a little while in the back room? I'm quite glad to see you. Yes, I'll wait there. It appeared that Howard would wait to make a decision in order to watch Thomas and the others. As I waited for Thomas and the older coworkers who had made fun of me to show up, I hid in the back room, feeling a little thrilled. Then, as I listened intently, I heard a man who appeared to be American go into the room. The man and Howard were laughing and enjoying their talk as they spoke fluent English. Then came Thomas and the 3 senior coworkers who had made fun of me. Thomas bowed deeply to Howard and gave him his business card. Wait, aren't you missing someone? That guy? We sent him back to Japan because he is useless. Pointless, Brian. We're even making this agreement because of him. Was it Thomas? If so, we will terminate this $100 million agreement. What? A $100 million deal? Mr. Howard, please wait. My phone began to ring at that very time, and it was Thomas calling. I exited the back room by opening the door. Thomas, the useless Brian is right here. What? You? I'd assumed you returned to Japan in order to retrieve my pen. For a single pen, why would I travel all the way back to Japan? Furthermore, I was without a place to stay. Oh, that. But Brian, what's this about $100 million? Thomas, I had no idea about the amount either. Then why are you even here? I added to Thomas, because this is an important deal, as I met the client standing next to Howard. Thomas, what's this about a pen? Howard inquired. Thomas gave a shaky, anxious response. Oh, it was only a miscommunication. Thomas doesn't seem to be up to the job, Brian. Thomas, President Owens and Brian both told me that Brian has trouble making sales in Japan, but he is still valuable. Could you now deliver the presentation for today in English? Oh, well, I'm not that good with English. Ed, please take care of it. I was always called Ade by Howard and my uncle. Startled, Thomas mumbled, Ed, let me tell you something, Thomas. Brian and I have been friends since childhood. He completed Harvard after putting in a lot of study time in America. Harvard. Indeed, he is far from worthless. Take it away, Ed. I opened my laptop and delivered the presentation in fluent English, ignoring Thomas's and the others' shocked expressions. The client was obviously impressed, as evidenced by the joy in their eyes. We then discussed the best things Japan has to offer in our own English. After giving the client a solid handshake, we hugged each other. I gave Howard a hug as well. The $100 million transaction went well. I have no use for any of you, Mr. Howard remarked, turning to Thomas and the others. To think that you treated Brian as though he had no value. Go now. With their shoulders slumped, Thomas and the other three walked out of the room, their heads lowered in defeat. Mr. Howard invited me to join him and the customer for a celebratory dinner after I expressed my sincere gratitude. After we deepened our relationship, I went back to Japan. Back at the office, President Owens ordered a demotion because he was upset with Thomas's treatment of me. President Owens formally nominated me as the head of the sales department. The senior coworkers who had made fun of me went white as Thomas sagged and walked out of the office. Moline was the only one who smiled at me. However, I had one more task to complete. Determined, I asked Moline to a fancy restaurant and asked her to marry me. After examining the diamond ring I presented to her, Moline accepted my proposal while grinning and crying. Joe Howard and my uncle attended our wedding, which was a lavish affair. When President Owens declared that I would be the company's future president during the ceremony, the large crowd erupted in cheers. Thomas decided to quit since he was dissatisfied with his rural reassignment. The senior coworkers who made fun of me expressed regret for their actions. With Moline as my wife, I firmly committed to safeguarding and guiding the business together, and the environment at the company became calm.